What happens when one of the most powerful and respected voices in the pulpit makes a confession that shakes the faith community to its core? Bishop Noel Jones, known worldwide for his fiery sermons and unshakable charisma, has finally broken his silence with two words no one expected to hear: "I divorced." But what led to this moment? What secrets and struggles have been hidden behind the pulpit? And how will this revelation change not only his life, but the very church he built? Stay tuned, because what Bishop Jones just shared might be his most shocking truth yet. Bishop Noel Jones has always been a man of influence. From leading the City of Refuge Church to inspiring millions through his powerful sermons, he's often been seen as a pillar of strength and faith. But recently, Noel Jones stepped forward with a truth that no one saw coming. He openly admitted, "I divorced." For many, those words were more than surprising. They were heartbreaking, confusing, and for some, even controversial. In this video, we're going to take you inside the story that has everyone talking. We'll uncover the timeline of events that led to his announcement, explore the reactions of his congregation and the wider faith community, and reveal the deeper truths behind what this means for Bishop Jones' ministry and personal life. You're going to hear the rarely discussed struggles that pastors face when the spotlight dims, and the private battles that even the most respected leaders must endure. This isn't just about a marriage ending. It's about reputation, faith, and the human side of a man who has spent decades ministering to others while quietly facing storms of his own. And trust me, you won't believe the ripple effect this revelation is already creating. So grab your seat and stay with us until the very end, because what we're about to uncover goes far deeper than a headline. To fully understand the weight of Bishop Noel Jones' confession, we need to take a step back and look at who he is, what he represents, and why his words carry such power. Born on January 31, 1950, in Spanish Town, Jamaica, Noel Jones is no stranger to a life shaped by both faith and public attention. He is the brother of the legendary singer Grace Jones, but instead of chasing fame in the entertainment world, he chose a very different path, one of ministry, sacrifice, and spiritual leadership. Noel Jones rose to prominence in the late 1970s and 80s, developing a reputation as one of the most dynamic preachers in America. His voice, his passion, and his ability to connect the Word of God to real-life struggles quickly made him stand out. By the time he became the pastor of the City of Refuge Church in Gardena, California, his influence had spread well beyond the pulpit. The church itself became a hub for thousands, attracting celebrities, politicians, and everyday believers alike. People weren't just drawn to the sermons, they were drawn to the man behind them. Jones had a way of taking scripture and making it feel personal, relevant, and transformative. That gift turned him into not only a spiritual leader, but also a public figure who carried the hopes and expectations of an entire community. But here's the important part: with great influence came great pressure. As his church grew, so did the spotlight. Every word, every action, every choice he made was scrutinized. The expectations placed on Noel Jones weren't just about preaching, they were about being a symbol of strength, morality, and leadership. And that pressure, as we will soon uncover, played a role in the personal struggles that would later surface. What many didn't see were the sacrifices behind the scenes. Jones' commitment to ministry often came at the cost of personal time, relationships, and privacy. Congregants saw the powerful preacher on stage, but very few understood the toll that kind of responsibility takes on a man's personal life. This is where it gets interesting. Because when a leader like Noel Jones, admired by thousands, suddenly admits to divorce, the story isn't just about the end of a marriage. It's about the weight of expectations, the cracks in the image of perfection, and the reminder that even spiritual giants are human. In the next section, we'll explore the private and personal side of Bishop Noel Jones, the relationships, the challenges, and the battles he faced away from the pulpit. And it's in this part of the story where the seeds of his confession begin to take root. To the world, Bishop Noel Jones has always appeared as a man in control, confident in the pulpit, powerful in his delivery, and steadfast in his faith. But behind the row, away from the packed sanctuaries and national attention, his personal life told a far more complicated story. For years, Bishop Jones' marital journey has been a topic of both admiration and controversy. He was once married, and for a time, many believed his personal life matched the strength of his public ministry. But as the years went by, whispers began to surface, whispers of strain, of distance, of unresolved tensions that were carefully hidden behind closed doors. Being the leader of a megachurch is not like any ordinary job. The demands are relentless: sermons to prepare, congregants to counsel, travel schedules to manage, and constant media scrutiny. For a man like Bishop Jones, whose every word was dissected, finding balance between church responsibilities and marital obligations became an ongoing battle. Close friends have often said that while Jones was gifted with extraordinary vision and charisma, he sometimes struggled with vulnerability in his personal relationships. His need to be the strong one, the leader, the rock, left little room for him to show weakness at home. Over time, this dynamic created cracks in his marriage, cracks that would eventually widen into a rift too deep to repair. And yet, through it all, Bishop Jones rarely addressed his personal struggles publicly. Congregants saw him smiling, preaching, and leading with authority, but very few knew about the sacrifices he was making behind the curtain. His marriage was not just a private matter, it was part of his image, and for years, he protected that image with everything he had. What makes this even more complicated is the fact that Bishop Jones has never been shy about addressing the realities of love and relationships in his sermons. He often spoke candidly about the complexities of marriage, the importance of forgiveness, and the challenges that come with trying to balance faith and flesh. Listeners could sense the passion in his words, but what they didn't know was just how personal those sermons may have been. Then came the rumors. Some claimed his marriage had quietly ended years ago, while others speculated that he remained in it out of duty, not love. The tabloids and gossip blogs added fuel to the fire, turning his personal life into a public spectacle. Through it all, Bishop Jones remained mostly silent, never confirming or denying the truth, until now. This is where the real story begins to unfold. Because when Bishop Jones finally said the words, "I divorced," it wasn't just an announcement. It was an unmasking. It was an admission that even the most celebrated leaders are not immune to personal failure, heartbreak, and change. And the courage it took to say those words, knowing how the faith community would react, shows just how heavy his truth had become. But here's the part that most people overlook. Divorce, especially for a man of his stature, is not just about ending a marriage. It's about facing judgment, risking credibility, and possibly even losing followers who held him to a standard of perfection. That's why his confession has stirred so much debate, not just about Noel Jones the man, but about Noel Jones the bishop. In the next section, we'll take a closer look at the moment of his announcement, what he actually said, how he said it, and why this revelation is shaking the faith community like never before. The moment Bishop Noel Jones publicly admitted, "I divorced," it sent shockwaves through the faith community. For decades, he had been seen as a symbol of spiritual strength, marital commitment, and unwavering leadership. Yet in a single candid statement, he reminded the world that behind every public persona is a human being facing personal challenges. The confession came during a televised interview and live-streamed event, where he chose transparency over perception. Bishop Jones spoke with a mix of emotion and resolve, carefully explaining that the decision to end his marriage was not taken lightly. He described years of private struggles, differences that could not be reconciled, and the toll that the pressures of ministry had taken on his personal life. In his own words, he emphasized that divorce does not equal failure. Instead, it can represent a painful but necessary step toward personal growth, healing, and authenticity. This perspective immediately resonated with some viewers, who praised him for his courage, honesty, and willingness to confront uncomfortable truths in a community that often prioritizes image over reality. However, not everyone reacted positively. Critics and some traditionalists within the faith community questioned whether a bishop should publicly admit to a divorce, arguing that it might undermine his spiritual authority or serve as a cautionary tale about personal decisions in leadership. Social media lit up with debate, with hashtags trending, conversations on forums, and both support and criticism flooding online platforms. What makes his confession even more significant is the way he framed it. Bishop Jones didn't just announce the divorce, he used it as a teaching moment. He spoke about the complexity of relationships, the importance of mental and emotional health, and the pressures leaders face when trying to balance public expectation with private reality. In doing so, he shifted the narrative from scandal to insight, showing that even those we idolize wrestle with human vulnerabilities. Insiders revealed that this was not a spur-of-the-moment admission. For months, Bishop Jones had been contemplating the timing, the setting, and the message of his confession. He knew it would spark conversation, potentially criticism, and even disappointment among some congregants. But ultimately, he decided that authenticity mattered more than image, and that his story could help others navigate their own challenges without shame or secrecy. The immediate impact was intense. Congregants expressed a mix of shock, empathy, and admiration. Some said they felt a deeper connection to Bishop Jones after hearing the truth, while others wrestled with feelings of betrayal or confusion. Community leaders and fellow pastors reacted with similar complexity. Some offered public support, highlighting the need for transparency and honesty in leadership, while others expressed concern about how this revelation might influence perceptions of clergy accountability and marital ideals. Here's the part that most people don't realize. Bishop Jones' confession has ignited broader conversations about faith, leadership, and personal struggles. It challenges the idea that spiritual leaders must be flawless. It encourages open dialogue about the realities behind the pulpit. And it shines a light on mental health, relationship dynamics, and the immense pressures that come with a life devoted to ministry. In the next section, we'll explore the long-term effects of this confession, how it has influenced his ministry, affected his congregation, and what it might mean for his public image moving forward. You won't want to miss the insider perspectives and reactions that reveal just how far-reaching this truth really is. The public confession by Bishop Noel Jones did more than make headlines. It sent shockwaves throughout congregations, faith leaders, and the broader community. Almost immediately, reactions began pouring in from all directions, ranging from heartfelt support to sharp criticism, reflecting the complexity of the conversation surrounding divorce and religious leadership. Many congregants expressed admiration for his honesty, saying that the bishop's transparency made him feel more human, approachable, and relatable. Social media accounts lit up with messages such as "Thank you for being real" and "Your honesty gives us hope." Followers described feeling a renewed connection to the church, seeing Bishop Jones not just as a spiritual leader, but as a man who has faced difficult choices and emerged with courage and integrity. At the same time, critics weren't shy in voicing concerns. Some traditionalists questioned whether admitting to a divorce might weaken his spiritual authority, while others debated the broader implications for church leadership standards. Forums, blogs, and news sites were flooded with commentary, dissecting every word of his announcement. Yet, even in controversy, Bishop Jones' approach of framing his divorce as a learning experience sparked meaningful discussions about faith, human imperfection, and the realities that many leaders quietly face. Insiders close to the bishop revealed that the announcement was carefully planned to minimize harm while maximizing transparency. Bishop Jones reportedly spent weeks preparing his message, consulting close advisors, and reflecting on the lessons he wanted to impart to his congregation. The goal was not to sensationalize, but to educate, inspire, and encourage honest dialogue around issues that are often stigmatized in faith communities. One of the most talked about aspects of this confession is its role in addressing mental and emotional health among religious leaders. By openly sharing his personal struggle, Bishop Jones challenged the notion that leaders must appear invulnerable. He highlighted the importance of seeking help, acknowledging challenges, and prioritizing emotional well-being, lessons that resonate far beyond the church walls. There were also debates about the ripple effects on his ministry. Some wondered whether attendance and donations might be impacted, while others noted that his congregation's deep respect could grow even stronger now that the bishop has shown he is willing to confront uncomfortable truths. Community leaders pointed out that this confession could become a model for leadership authenticity, encouraging other pastors to address personal struggles openly and responsibly. But here's the part that really catches everyone's attention. Many insiders believe that Bishop Jones' confession is just the beginning of a broader shift in faith leadership. Conversations about vulnerability, transparency, and accountability are now taking center stage, and the bishop's decision has opened doors for dialogue that were long overdue. This story isn't just about divorce. It's about redefining what it means to lead with honesty, integrity, and humanity. As we reflect on this journey, one lesson stands out. Even the most revered spiritual leaders face challenges that test their faith, resilience, and personal lives. Bishop Noel Jones' courage in sharing his truth reminds us that imperfection is not failure, but an opportunity to learn, grow, and inspire others through authenticity.